welcome back. Apologies for my absence over the past few months, but it's been pretty busy around here. We've been making lots of progress inside the walled garden with a few changes. My boys have also gone off to university, which has been quite a big deal. And I suppose I've had that empty nest feeling as well, and trying to just readjust, not having them around anymore. I've also had a frozen shoulder, which has hampered my gardening. I've not been out here for the last at least 2 months because I've had to have rehab, and now I'm starting to build the muscle back up. But we're getting there and I am feeling much better, but I have lost my gardening mojo, which is coming back. And we're going to start with today because it is glorious and there are things to be done. Things like pruning roses. And that's something I can get on with quite easily. The one thing that I am struggling with at the moment is weeding because of that repetitive movement. So let's do something simple, like pruning roses. I've got a ground cover rose, a shrub rose, a new rose, and some roses in pots that I can go through with you fairly quickly on how I prune them. I've also had a wonderful conversation with Liam Bedell, who is the David Austin Rosarian. He was an absolute delight, and I've got it recorded for you into 3 parts because it was quite a long conversation. And you can hear all about his experience and his wonderful knowledge on roses. But first, let's go and prune ours. Come on. Now, having so many roses in this garden, we have to keep it quick and simple. And the biggest thing to think about when pruning roses is shape. And that's one thing that Liam definitely said throughout a lot of our conversation. I've got 3 either side here. These are ground cover roses. And I cut them very, very hard. Believe it or not, all this growth here was all last year's, and these were cut quite heavily. And if we take a closer look, you can see last year's cuts, and that's how hard they are cut back, and they do come back quite vigorously. This is a south-facing wall, but does get some shade from this great big lime tree here. But the roses love that aspect. Now, with these ground cover roses, I'm thinking shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them right back to the ground. So they're probably about that much, and everything else taken away. And I'm just going to basically create little mounds with them. The next thing to think about is to take away any dead, dying and diseased parts. But first, I'm going to very, very quickly chop away all these longer bits, because trying to get into the centre here, I'm going to be constantly attacked by these long bits. I'm just going to use a pair of loppers and just quickly take them away so that I can get deeper into the rose and see where I'm at. Now, before we start anything, I'm going to need some loppers, some secateurs, preferably as sharp as you can and clean, and some gloves because these are extremely thorny and we don't want to tear our hands to shreds. And also at the very, very end, I use this little hand rake to get rid of any of the leaves that have fallen around the base of the rose. And what that does, it just helps to prevent any of the spores coming up in case there's any black spot lying around. And I will dispose all of this in the green garden waste. Now, as you can see, you can be pretty brutal with roses and they can handle it. It's pretty difficult to kill a rose. So if ever you're thinking, I'm going to kill it, you're not. Unless you literally hack it right down to the base, to the ground, it might not like that. But as long as you've left enough stems coming out of the ground for it to photosynthesize, you're going to get flowers. Now I can really see what I'm doing, and I'm going to choose a couple of stems in the center, probably this one and this one, and I'm going to take them to about here, and that will be the guide for the rest of the stems surrounding it. And I don't have to worry about any budding stems outward facing. Just cut it to the height you want. Don't think about anything else. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to take away any thin pieces that are thinner than a pencil. Use that as a guide, really. And then I'm going to take out any dead or dying or diseased looking parts. So if anything is really quite brown, you can tell, that will come off. Now if we look at this, this is thinner than a pencil, and that's going to be taken off. This here is very, very brown and dead, and I'll be taking that off as well. So there's my guide, and I'm going to take everything else to that level. So you can see this is looking like a much better shape, much more open. Now, the beauty of having a hand rake is that I can easily clear away the leaves around the base because if I get my hands in here, and I could try, but I will tear the back of my hand to shreds. Now by using this, I can just gently tease away any bits of leaves. Look at that, looking better already. Just by moving a lot of the leaves makes a big difference, and I can see in here a lot better, and I can see there are a few more dead stems that I need to take away carefully, like that one. Be so careful when you're getting in there because these will catch you out. Now that's probably, to me, sticking out a bit too much. That's better. Now we want to look a bit deeper as well, and there are a few crossing stems at the base here, and what I want to do is not have anything crossing because the stems will rub against each other and that will cause infection. So what I tend to do is choose probably a slightly older stem and cut that away and let a newer stem establish. So I will probably cut away that stem as it's crossing over that stem. And it's already starting to open up a bit more now. Probably take that one away because it doesn't look very nice at the base. That one away. Okay, I think that looks great. Another good thing to do is to get up and take a step back, have a look at the shape and check over it again, see how it flows. That looks much better. I'm going to do that with all the others, and then we'll move on to the shrub rose. It's called Darcy Bustle. It's been in the ground for approximately 15 years, so it's had a good life here. Roses tend to perform their best within their first 15 to 20 years, and then they can start to decline a little bit thereafter. Some perform for many years beyond that. It can all depend on where they are, how happy they are, how well pruned they've been. I'm going to prune this back by half. I know that sounds quite drastic, but it loves it, and it's always worked for me. the first thing I'm going to do is choose a stem in the centre, or roughly in the centre, that will be my guide. But before that, I'm going to put my gloves on. I think you can get a better view of it from here. And we want to think predominantly shape. So the top of the rose is here, and I'm going to take it down to about, let's say here, and I'm going to use this as my guide for the rest. Don't think about any budding branches, outward cuts, anything. Keep thinking shape and just snip away. And that's the beauty of rose pruning. Just don't think too hard about it. We can then start to see a shape forming. I mean, how simple and straightforward is that? Just don't think cut. You're not going to harm it, hurt it in any way whatsoever. There we go. Okay. So we can now have another look at it and think, right, I know that looked brutal. And then we need to look into the rose. Straight away, I can see there's one ginormous dead branch, which is that one. So I'm going to go right to the base there and take that off. And also, any pencil thin stems are going to come off. And this one here as well, and any others. And then look at anything that might be rubbing against another branch. Now you can see there's a bit of a crossover here, but actually this, I mean, it is alive, but the stem itself does not look very happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that off all the way down to here, I think. So that will prevent any crossing over and it'll open things up a bit better. Okay, and this will have a chance to branch out a bit more. I can't believe I've got new, I mean, this is new growth, and it's the end of January. Crazy weather. But my problem is with this is that it's quite thin and it's growing out and rubbing against this stem here. So I might end up taking this off anyway. That looks so much better. I've also cleared all the leaves from around the base, and we are going to put a lovely thick top dressing mulch around here as well, which will retain all the moisture when we have a drier summer. And then come spring, I will then sprinkle some nice slow release rose fertilizer to really help get going with all of those lovely flowers for the summer months. Next up, I'm going to be pruning some potted roses just behind the house. And here they are. These roses are Gabriel oak, and they sit beautifully in these three lovely glazed pots here, and I can see them right outside my kitchen window, just there. I'm going to be cutting these back probably by about a third to half to about here. They've been in these pots now for, this will probably be their third summer, I think, and they've really bushed out nicely. And all I'm going to do is just, again, like before, giving them a nice shape like that. I want to have them all the same height, preferably, so they can look as equal as possible. I'm going to cut out any dead, dying or diseased, and I'm going to take away any crossing branches that are rubbing against one another that are likely to cause any infection. All the leaves have been blown away because we've had quite a few storms here lately, so that's quite good. All I'm going to need is a sharp pair of secateurs and some gloves for this. The first thing I'm going to do is choose a central point and make that my guide for the height. So I think I'm going to go to about here and literally just go straight in, taking everything to that height. Don't think about anything else. Don't think about side cuts, slanted cuts, or buds. Just snip away until you've got everything to the desired height. It's that simple, it really is. And speed is of the essence, especially when you have a lot of roses to get through, like me. Look at that, straight away we've got a shape forming. How good is that? Much, much tidier. Once we are happy with that shape, we then need to take away any branches that are thinner than a pencil, like this one, this one, this one, and just keep going through. And also check as well for any unhappy looking twigs or dead. See, that doesn't look very nice. It's quite thin. That's quite thin. Already we can start to see things opening up a little bit. I think that looks a little bit thin as well. And that one. That one. You can see these two are rubbing. So we then make a choice on which one we keep. And unfortunately, this one hasn't fared very well and it's looking very unhappy. So that one will go, and I'll check this one as well, which looks absolutely fine. That looks an unhappy bit there. Back a notch. I think I might keep everything within the pot. That one looks a bit thin. That doesn't look great. Here. So that's the sort of look we're after. So nothing is coming out anywhere beyond the pot. It's all contained within a nice open shape. So all I need to do is do the same for the other two. Shouldn't take me too long. All done. Looking much tidier as well. I've also weeded around the bases of them. And then it's just a case of waiting for them to start budding, which won't be very long actually. Right, I've got one more rose I'd like to show you. This is a new rose. I planted it last year and it is the brand new Emma Bridgewater from David Austin Roses. This is the height it was when I got it and when it went in the ground. And what I want to do is just cut it back by about a half to a third, just to reinvigorate it and make it look tidy again. There aren't many stems to it, so it literally takes a couple of minutes to do. I'll take off any old leaves, and then same principle as before. Obviously I've got my height and shape there, and I just want to take away any of those stems that are thinner than a pencil, which are these ones. And then what will happen is we'll get some nice new stems forming this spring, and hopefully we'll get nice. Let's take that a little bit shorter. And there it is. Let's get a closer look. You can see there's a little bit of a shape there. It's still very young, and we should get it bushing up a lot more this summer. Just behind me, I've got these two. There are actually 3 roses, but 2 here are just about still going. These are called Winchester Cathedral, here and here, and we brought these with us from our previous garden. So I'm guessing these roses must be, a good 16, 17 years old, if not more, maybe nearer 20 years old. They transplanted very, very well, and they've done amazingly in this border. But over the last 5 years, they haven't looked their best at all. And they've got lots of black spot, and they're looking a little bit spindly. I think what we're going to do is dig them out in the next couple of years and replace them, and possibly put some more of the Emma Bridgewater in, so that I have a really big display of them here. But today, what I'm going to do is just cut them back by a lot. I'm going to take them right down here. So they're up here now, and I'm literally going to be very harsh and brutal with them. I know that looks very painful, but I mean, they'll come back and they'll be fine. And I think if you've got any old roses, it's good to just give them a really hard knock back. And sometimes it might invigorate them a little bit to come back and try a bit harder. But if they're pretty old, and it also depends on the variety as well, or if you've inherited a rose, sometimes giving it a really good chop can be your last resort before trying something new. It's just starting to go dark, and it is chilling off a bit now. Ooh, I can really start to feel my fingers getting a bit cold. Well, thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time and show you what other jobs I'll be getting on with in the garden. Right, I'm going to clear up. Take care. Bye bye.